The guards left her there like she was being sacrificed. One stood frozen in the center of the room, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. She accepted it. One night, she needed to suck it up for one night in exchange for getting her freedom. It was a hellhole. She didn't have to wait long. The door opened and Jungkook entered, closing it behind him. He removed his formal warden's jacket. The black shirt he wore was simple, but it did nothing to soften him. It only revealed his tattooed arms and scars. Wine, get done with it, she said, eyes fierce. She sucked her pride before coming here. Yet, how low could a woman fall? A night with the warden in exchange of freedom was what he demanded. A night giving all of herself away to beast of a man. Jungkook didn't speak at first. He leaned back against the door, crossed his one foot over other, his arms over his chest. One of his biceps had a huge scar, probably of a big slash from the past. A series of smaller ones spread over the rest of his arms. And Jake, how eager. One balled her fist. She was angry earlier. She felt humiliated now. Jungkook leaned off the wall and stepped towards her like a predator. Slowly and terrifyingly started to move in a circle around it. Wine's heartbeat was fast. Park Wine. Her parents died 6 months ago in a car crash. Her father owned a huge business. She was born wealthy, had every kind of luxury, and was loved beyond measure. Everything fell with her parents. She inherited everything her father left behind. Mine demanded another lawyer. Her case still continued. It had been 5 months since she was here. They kept telling her they'll get her out, but every passing day she lost a part of herself in here. By the end of the day, each bone in her body is breaking. Then, over a millisecond delay, she gets beaten up and lashed at least 20 times by the female wardens, and with that injured body, she is to work again the next morning. So when the warden, Jungkook, with absolute authority over every person here, reached her with a deal to spend a night with him and she was promised freedom in return, she couldn't reject it regardless of how much she hated it. His breath was warm against her ear. Now, he whispered and sent a shiver down her spine. Let's give them the show they expect. Before she could process his words, his lips brushed against the shell of her ear, a ghost of a touch. Jake, he's decided a life sentence is too risky. You're to be silenced permanently tonight. A cold dread, sharper than any fear she had felt before, washed over her. Night. Was she here to be killed or to be saved? Was it her graveyard or her sanctuary? He shifted slightly, his nose grazing her hair. The motion looking like a lover's nuzzle to any eyes, watching through any camera they installed behind her back. Wine, how do I believe you? Wine felt the room tilt, the chorus, the beatings, the despair. She was living on borrowed time and hadn't even known about it. Her knees felt weak, and instinctively her hands came up to grip his shoulders, not to pull him away, but to steady herself. Wine, why are you doing this? Jungkook's hand slid across the nape of her neck, pulling her close. He moved his face in there. Wine closed her eyes a little, half putting on a show, the other half because it was too intense for her to stay still. Once Jungkook pulled back and they met eyes, the fear in her eyes from earlier had resolved a lot, changed with determination. It worked. Jungkook stepped forward and Wine willingly stepped back until she hit the bed. The battle that began the next morning was not a single glorious victory, but a bloody war. Jungkook's surprise move, transfer of wine to a high security courthouse, accompanied by a new lawyer, a mountain of evidence, and a different judge. Not the corrupt one, but one known for true to justice, sent her enemies reeling. One spent her nights in the warden's quarters. What began as a performance for the camera slowly became real. Some nights they revealed legal documents, the other nights they talked about themselves. When the final blow fell, declaring her innocent and exposing the real criminal, the victory was sweet. But it was the sight of Jungkook standing rigidly at the back of the courtroom, his eyes holding hers with pride, that made her feel truly free. Tonight was an event taking place. One was dressed in a black velvet dress adorned in pearls and diamonds. She looked every bit of elegance. An hour into it, and she escaped to the balcony. And as soon as she stepped out, his arms slid around her waist. He dug his face in her neck and hugged her tightly. Wine, I missed you. Her fingers brushed through her hair. Her lips landed on his cheek. He was the man who saved her when she was drowning. He was the man who gave her another chance at life, and now she had become his everything. They were home to each other, a place which provided warmth and peace to their hearts.